Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, and I'm here to talk about The Survivor Season 45 season premiere. This was so exciting. I'll say off the bat, the 90-minute episode gave me everything that I needed. If only all the players actually wanted to win. Before I dive into it, I'm going to be covering this entire season of Survivor, so if you like the video, subscribe, click the button on the bottom right. I really appreciate it. So it's the premiere, so exciting. Right away they come in on their little boats. We're introduced to Drew. Katurah says she's going to lie about her career. Emily says she'd rather be voted out first than lose. Jake wants to move out of his grandma's house, and Sifu sings us a little song. The introductions as they ride in on boats are very fast-paced, but they slow down once they climb up onto the barge or boat for the marooning. And this is a pretty nostalgic setting. It reminds me of a few other seasons. It reminds me of Pearl Islands or David vs. Goliath. Austin is super excited. Sabiyah thinks that she's going to be one of the strongest there, and Kendra feels the positive energy because she's a Libra. At first, I thought this Libra thing was just a one-time joke, but I think this is going to be a very serious theme in the entire season. Jeff unpacks his usual hubbub. He addresses Brandon, who instantly gets emotional. It's his dream since he's 11 to be on the show. Familiar face Bruce sticks out his huge tongue at being called on. We reflect on his medevac last season. Jeff loves Bruce. Bruce announces that he has no advantage. He gets a side eye from Emily. Then Emily actually pipes up to say, Jeff, he has an advantage. He's more prepared than us. This interaction makes Emily end up looking very villainous and Bruce more heroic. The Red Reba tribe is so silly and Sifu lives for it. They're doing a challenge that's a relay race in pairs to retrieve their flint and a pot and machete. The losing tribes have to earn it a different way. So Jeff lets them loose on the challenge. The first part is emptying a crate full of sandbags and a giant rope. The Red Reba tribe gets this done first, followed by the yellow Lulu tribe. Blue ends up falling behind with Bruce being a little bit slower. Maybe he's trying not to get hurt. The next stage is swimming out to a boat and then boating back. Sean and Brandon for yellow make up some ground, but Brandon proves that the struggle is real, being the vision of exhaustion and not being able to climb off the boat and up onto the ladder to get back onto the ship. Sean is Brandon's partner during this mess, and he kind of just leaves Brandon in the ocean, bobbing around like to die. I can't blame or fault Brandon for not physically being able to do this, but I can blame his partner for not rescuing him. So the blue team have the lead coming back from the boats. The next part is hitting your loot in a bag with a stick to get it off a spring in the air. Blue and red are in it. Sean has gone back to get Brandon, so at least he eventually realizes, oh, my partner is dying in the water. So Sean helps Brandon to get up onto the boat. Good for Brandon for even finishing this challenge. So this challenge was a lot of chaos, but after the chaos, the red team ends up winning, with the yellow at a close second despite such a setback with the boat. So red gets their pot, flint, and machete, and the other two teams have to pick two representatives to go into the Sweat and Savvy challenge. Brando and Jake volunteer for blue, and Caleb and Sabiyah volunteer to go for yellow. Everyone else gets their maps to go back to camp. Jeff asks Brandon to stay back and talk to Medical. We never see the conversation with Brandon and Medical, but it's also none of our business, I guess. At the winning red camp, Jay Maya is feeling the good vibes. They notice a language at the bottom of their map that is immediately panned to by the camera. So obviously they're telling us that this means something. Julie is also a secret lawyer. Drew has a secret alter ego, the Seal. I really didn't understand the difference between Drew and the Seal, but it's very obvious that red is the fun tribe, the good vibes tribe. The blue tribe pull up on shore. Bruce says that his experience on Survivor is euphoric. They all talk smack about Emily on the yellow tribe. Bruce even impersonates her with a high-pitched voice. Bruce doesn't want to be the leader or the dad. Then he says it's time to give one tidbit of advice. This is such a classic premiere segment where the person says, I don't want to be the leader, but one thing. Kendra says Bruce sounds like a Leo. Katurah, Kelly, and Kendra all bond over them being around the same age. All of their birthdays are in September. They're all K names, I guess. And they all have a love of astrology, which is very lucky for Kendra. Are we lucky enough to have an all-female alliance? They point out that on the last few seasons, females have been heavily targeted in the early game, so they don't want that to happen again, and I don't want that to happen again either. At the yellow Lulu tribe, Emily is instantly scheming against the teammates who are at the Sweat and Savvy challenge, saying that they're up to no good. Brandon shows up to join the conversation. He says he blacked out once he got on the boat in the challenge. This group of four are really out of their element by themselves, so they end up doing nothing. Hannah sweeps the leaves. They find out that Sabiyah and Caleb, Brando, and Jake are going to be competing head-to-head in the Sweat vs. Savvy challenge. The first pair to complete this will return with the reward. The losing team will come back with nothing. They have 1 hour to move a bunch of logs and then finish a puzzle. If neither of them do it, then they both lose. I guess I like this more than the way they've been doing it previously because every time they've done it, they've achieved the challenge. So I guess if you do it this way, someone has to lose. I don't know. I actually don't care. So the logs are huge and they look really heavy. They look heavier than Brando himself. Sabaya shows how strong she is. She is hauling the logs and motivating everybody. Brando says the logs are the hardest thing he's ever had to do, and I believe him. They get to the puzzle around the same time. They're all struggling with the puzzle, and it looks really confusing. As a viewer, I don't even know what they're supposed to do with this. And the clock is winding down, ... And just in our moment of stress and will they or won't they, we cut to everyone joking around and having a blast at the blue camp, opening up coconuts with a rock. Brando and Jake show up and tell the tribe that they lost the challenge and they have nothing. They say the other tribe doesn't have anything either. At first, I thought they were lying, but then I realized there was no reason for them to lie, and then on the yellow tribe, Sabaya and Caleb show up and tell them that they lost as well. But Emily is instantly convinced that they took an advantage. Sean instantly tattles to Sabaya that Emily's been saying this. Brandon and Hannah have a mutual breakdown while complaining to each other about how tired they are and how hard it is being on Survivor. They feel better about themselves by being there for each other, but this scene ends up being triumphant because they power through. At the blue camp, the ladies make a final 3 alliance, acknowledging again that the last few seasons females have gone first. Kendra floats Jake's name to be voted out because he's a lawyer. Kathora is like, this is exactly why I lied about being a lawyer, because she is on her FBJ Bowie Jane shit. Then, just to entertain herself, she goes to him, asks him what it's like being a lawyer. And this was fun from Katora. It was like she was playing with her food. At the yellow camp, Sabaya is in workhorse mode and building the shelter, leading the team. She says everyone has a good vibe except Emily, who, according to her, has a glass half empty kind of vibe. Other tribe mates also refer to Emily as negative. Emily does show some level of self-control when everyone's having a silly conversation about pyramids being giant batteries sent by aliens, and she just doesn't interject. She just says, I never thought about it that way, which I thought was a good response. Over at Silly Red, Sifu is prancing around in the jungle searching for idols. The rest of the tribe quickly realize what he's doing. He says, I'm like Tony. Dee says, I feel like he's like Tony. Then they all catch him spying on them. Dee says she's a fireball at home, and now she doesn't trust Sifu. Austin then finds the Beware advantage without really looking for it. It's just in front of his face, and he opens it. He has to complete some tasks to get an idol, and he can't vote until he figures out the 3 tasks. The first clue is to decipher the clue on the flag using half of the clue that would form a message when it's against the flag. Basically, on the flag, I guess there's the tops of the letters and the bottoms of the letters are on the clue that he has. I really feel like if he looked at it long enough, he could figure out what letters are on the clue. So it's time for the immunity challenge, and this is a pretty lengthy challenge description. They have to climb up an A-frame, slide down the A-frame into the mud, climb under a net, get a bag full of coconuts, drag the coconuts, then they have to toss the coconuts into a basketball hoop. Once the basketball hoop is full, then they have to hoist each other up another A-frame ramp to get to a puzzle, and the puzzle is the Survivor logo, and the first team that completes the puzzle wins, and I've never been more not envious of Jeff's job. 2 tribes will win immunity, and Jeff confirms if they win immunity, they can also get the things that they lost in the reward. Through this, Jeff does acknowledge that the blue team and the yellow team did not get the reward, which debunks Emily's theory that her tribe mates are lying to her. So the challenge starts. A lot of them go down the slide obstacle face first into the mud, which seems really dangerous. I would definitely go down booty first, or foot first, whatever you prefer. Sabaya gets the yellow tribe off to a slow start, so blue and red get a lead and head towards the coconut dragon. Blue and red finish the coconut challenge at about the same time. Caleb is carrying the yellow team from behind. Sifu steps on Austin's head to get up the ramp. Brandon takes a hard fall, falling over people. Sabaya also takes a hard rolling fall. Yellow is really struggling while the other 2 tribes are working on their puzzles already. It becomes clear where this is going when Jeff says it would take a miracle for Yellow to win at this point, and that at this point they should be happy even if they get to start their puzzle. So Blue wins immunity first, and then Red wins soon after, so Yellow will have to go to Tribal. Brandon feels bad because no matter what, he'll be voting for someone who did better than him in this challenge. They get back to camp, and Hannah is like, maybe they'll all vote for me, and I'll go home, yay! She tells Brandon that she doesn't even want to be there, and she wants people to vote her out. She mentioned earlier that she was having nicotine withdrawals, and Brandon doesn't want Hannah to leave. So this tribe ends up being a total mess. Brandon says he had chest pains last night, it never went away. He starts crying. The tribe's an absolute mess. Brandon's crying and telling Sabaya that he's playing his shot in the dark. Then Caleb and Sabaya are pretty much bonding over the fact that they're the only 2 people that have their shit together on this tribe. Then Emily says that she wants to break apart Caleb and Sabaya, which is a terrible plan because, like I said, Caleb and Sabaya are the only 2 people on this tribe who have their shit together. Brandon instantly tells Caleb that Emily is voting for Caleb. Caleb responds to this by saying that Emily's gameplay is crazy. So going into this tribal council, really anybody can go home. The tribal council set design is giving SNES Donkey Kong Country vibes, if you know you know. Jeff starts things off with jungle talk. Hannah pretty much instantly tells Jeff that she doesn't want to be there anymore. They basically say Hannah isn't going to quit unless we vote her out, so she's here until we say so, which is kind of an interesting archetype on Survivor, and it happens all the time. The person who wants to quit, but the tribe won't let them. I don't like quitters, but I kind of like the idea of trapping a quitter in the game. Emily calls Caleb and Sabiyah out for being close. Sabiyah defends herself and Caleb. Emily says that she struggled the most out there, and then Hannah says, "What about me?" And then Caleb says, "What about Brandon?" Brandon says his value and strength is in comforting people. Jeff kind of thinks it's amusing that Hannah doesn't want to be there, but then Hannah says that she wants to see it all unfold at home. She begs to be voted out. She says that she doesn't need to be voted out to go home. So basically saying, if you don't vote me out, I will quit tomorrow. And this is when Jeff gets serious. You do not mess with his production schedule. So we end this 90-minute episode of Survivor with a unanimous vote out with no need to go to the urn. So they give Hannah what she wants and she gets to leave. Yay! So we have to say goodbye to Hannah. I looked at my preseason notes for her and all I wrote down was that she was a therapist who didn't want to play as a therapist and big first boot energy. There's not too much to say that I didn't already say in this video. And I feel for her because she does have a past with addiction. And she mentioned a few times throughout this episode that she was having nicotine withdrawals. That may seem minute to someone watching, but you never know someone's experience, especially if they have history with addiction. Having a withdrawal experience may bring back old memories. So I wouldn't encourage people to shame this person for quitting or to say you took somebody's spot because she probably didn't know she was going to feel these things until she was feeling them. Let's take a moment to take a deep breath and be nice. So that's all I have to say about this episode. I loved the 90 minutes. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of the episode? Who's your favorite to win? I'll be back next week to talk about Survivor. In the meantime, I'm also talking about Big Brother and the challenge. So if you're picking up on what I'm putting down, go ahead, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Have a nice rest of your week. Bye.